Maya's hands trembled as she adjusted the black vest of her catering uniform. The fabric felt scratchy against her skin, a constant reminder of how far she'd fallen from the life she once imagined for herself. She stood in the corner of the grand ballroom at the Riverside Hotel, balancing a tray of champagne glasses that probably cost more than her monthly rent. The crystal chandeliers above cast dancing shadows across the marble floor. Everything in this place screamed luxury, from the velvet curtains to the gold-trimmed chairs. Maya had grown used to working in places like this over the past year. It was better than thinking about how she used to attend these events as a guest, back when her father's business was still running. "Table 12 needs refills," her supervisor hissed, snapping Maya back to reality. She nodded quickly and weaved through the crowd of well-dressed guests. Their laughter echoed off the high ceilings, mixing with the soft jazz music from the live band. Maya had almost made it through her shift without incident. Just 2 more hours, she told herself. 2 more hours and she could go home to her tiny studio apartment, peel off this uncomfortable uniform, and collapse into bed. Tomorrow she had classes at the community college and she needed to finish her assignment on marketing strategies. But life had a funny way of kicking you when you were already down. "Is that Maya?" The voice sent ice through her veins. She knew that voice. She'd heard it whisper sweet promises in her ear, heard it laugh at her jokes, heard it say goodbye through a text message when things got tough. Derek. Maya turned slowly, hoping against hope that she was wrong. But there he stood, looking exactly like the pictures she'd tortured herself with on social media. His suit probably cost more than her car, and his smile was the same charming one that had fooled her into thinking he actually cared. "It is you," Derek's voice carried across the room, drawing attention from nearby guests. "Maya Chen. Wow, I almost didn't recognize you in that uniform." The way he said uniform made it sound like something dirty. Maya felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment. She wanted to disappear into the floor to evaporate like the champagne bubbles in the glasses she carried. "Derek," she managed to say, keeping her voice steady. "I'm working. Excuse me." But Derek stepped into her path, and that's when Maya noticed the woman attached to his arm. She was stunning in a way that made Maya feel small and invisible. Her dress probably cost more than Maya made in 6 months, and diamonds sparkled at her throat and ears. "Honey, this is Maya," Derek said to the woman, his tone dripping with false sweetness. "We used to date, back before before everything fell apart." The woman looked Maya up and down with barely concealed disdain. "Oh," she said, drawing out the word. "You're the one whose father lost everything in that scandal." Maya's grip tightened on her tray. Her father hadn't done anything wrong. The business partner who betrayed him had made sure everyone thought otherwise, and by the time the truth came out, it was too late. The damage was done. The company was gone. Her father's health had deteriorated from the stress, and Maya had dropped out of her expensive university to help pay his medical bills. Derek had left exactly 3 days after her father's business collapsed. Not even a phone call. Just a text that said, "I can't do this anymore." She'd been young and stupid enough to think love could survive anything. She'd learned the hard way that it couldn't survive poverty. "I need to get back to work," Maya said firmly, trying to step around them. Wait, Derek said, grabbing her arm gently but firmly enough to stop her. "Victoria and I just got engaged. I wanted you to hear it from me." Victoria extended her left hand, showing off a ring that could probably feed a small country. "We're celebrating tonight," she said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Derek insisted on having the party here. He said it was his favorite hotel. Maya remembered. She and Derek had come here for their first anniversary dinner. He'd promised her the world that night. Funny how those promises evaporated the moment they couldn't be kept in luxury. "Congratulations," Maya forced the word out. "I really need to—" "You know what's crazy?" Derek interrupted, his voice getting louder. More people were turning to look now. Maya could feel their eyes on her, judging, pitying. "I dodged such a bullet. Can you imagine if I'd actually married you? I'd probably be serving drinks too right now." Victoria laughed, a high tinkling sound that made Maya's stomach turn. "Oh, Derek, stop it. You're terrible." But he wasn't stopping. The alcohol on his breath suggested he'd been celebrating for a while. "Seriously though, Maya, how did you end up here? Last I heard you were trying to finish college. Did that not work out either?" Something inside Maya snapped. She'd spent a year taking his abandonment in silence, accepting it as somehow deserved because she was no longer good enough for him. She'd worked 3 jobs while going to school part-time, sending every spare penny to help her father. She'd eaten ramen for dinner more nights than she could count. She'd cried herself to sleep wondering what was wrong with her that Derek could throw away 2 years together without a second thought. And now he was standing here, with his new, rich fiancé, mocking the life she'd been forced into through no fault of her own. "I'm finishing my degree," Maya said, lifting her chin, "and I'm doing just fine." "Sure looks like it," Derek smirked. "Listen, no hard feelings, okay? You understand why I had to move on? A guy has standards, you know? Goals. I couldn't tie myself to someone with so much baggage." The words hit Maya like physical blows. She could handle working long hours. She could handle being tired and poor and struggling. But this public humiliation, this reminder that she wasn't good enough, that she was someone to be ashamed of, that was too much. Her eyes stung with unshed tears. She would not cry, not here, not in front of him. That's when she noticed the man. He was standing near the elevators, tall and imposing in a dark suit that made Derek's expensive clothes look cheap. His presence commanded attention without demanding it. He had sharp features and dark hair swept back from his face, and he was watching the scene unfold with an expression of cool interest. Something about the way he stood, the quiet authority he radiated, made Maya's desperate brain form a crazy idea. It was stupid. It was insane. It would probably blow up in her face, but she was already humiliated. What did she have to lose? Maya set down her tray on a nearby table and walked toward the stranger with more confidence than she felt. Her heart hammered in her chest. This was crazy. This was absolutely nuts. He'd probably call security on her. But when she reached him and looked up into his dark eyes, something made her push forward with her desperate plan. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, quiet enough that only he could hear. "I know this is crazy, but I need help. Just for 1 minute, please." The man's eyebrow raised slightly. Up close, he was even more intimidating. Everything about him screamed power and money, from his perfectly tailored suit to the expensive watch on his wrist. "Act like you love me," Maya pleaded, her voice barely audible. "Please, just for a minute. I'm begging you." For a moment that felt like an eternity, the man just stared at her. Maya was certain he was going to walk away, or worse, laugh at her. This was it. This was rock bottom. Then something shifted in his expression. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was boredom with whatever business dinner he'd just left. Maybe he saw the desperation in her eyes and took pity on her. He smiled. It transformed his entire face, making him look warmer, more approachable. Before Maya could process what was happening, he wrapped his arm around her waist and pulled her close to his side. The gesture was smooth, natural, like they'd done it 1,000 times before. "There you are," he said, his voice deep and rich. "I've been looking for you." Maya's mind went blank. He was actually doing it. This stranger was actually helping her. She let him guide her back toward Derek and Victoria, who were now staring with open mouths. The other guests who'd been watching the drama unfold looked equally shocked. "Derek," Maya said, fighting to keep her voice steady, "this is my boyfriend." The word felt strange on her tongue, especially applied to a man whose name she didn't even know. But the stranger didn't miss a beat. He extended his free hand toward Derek, though his arm remained firmly around Maya's waist. "Alexander Kane," he said smoothly. "I've heard a lot about you." The name sent a ripple through the crowd. Even Maya, who'd been too busy surviving to pay attention to business news lately, recognized it. Alexander Kane, the CEO of Kane Industries, the billionaire who'd taken his father's company and turned it into a tech empire. He'd been on the cover of Forbes last month. Maya's knees felt weak. She'd just asked one of the richest men in the country to pretend to be her boyfriend. Derek's face had gone pale. "Alexander Kane? The Alexander Kane? Is there another?" Alexander's tone was pleasant, but there was steel underneath it. His arm tightened slightly around Maya, a gesture that looked protective to anyone watching. Victoria was staring at Maya with undisguised shock. "You're dating Alexander Kane? We prefer to keep things private," Alexander said before Maya could stammer out a response. "But yes, Maya and I have been seeing each other for a few months now." "Months?" Derek's voice cracked slightly. "But I heard you were struggling. Working multiple jobs, going to community college." "She is going to college," Alexander said, and there was an edge to his voice now. "Getting her degree while working. I find that incredibly admirable. It takes real character to rebuild your life after facing adversity, unlike people who abandon others the moment things get difficult. The rebuke was subtle but unmistakable. Derek's face flushed red. Several nearby guests murmured to each other, clearly taking Alexander's side. Maya couldn't believe this was happening. This man, this stranger, was not only playing along with her desperate lie but defending her. Her heart felt too big for her chest. "I should get back to work," Maya said softly, looking up at Alexander. "My shift isn't over yet." "Actually," Alexander said, pulling out his phone with his free hand, "I think it is. Give me a moment." He stepped away briefly, making a quick call. Maya could only catch fragments. "Manager. Ending her shift early. Yes, full pay. Consider it a personal favor." When he returned, he smiled at Maya. "All taken care of. You're free to go." "But I need this job," Maya protested weakly. "You'll be compensated for the full shift," Alexander assured her. "Consider it part of my apology for keeping you working when you should be out enjoying your evening." Derek and Victoria were still standing there, looking like they'd been slapped. Other guests had pulled out their phones, probably already texting about seeing Alexander Kane at the hotel with a mystery girlfriend. "We should go," Alexander said to Maya, guiding her toward the elevators. "We have that reservation, remember?" Maya didn't remember any reservation, obviously, but she played along. "Right, of course." As they walked away, she could hear Victoria's sharp whisper to Derek. "You dated her? You dated Alexander Kane's girlfriend and let her go?" The elevator doors closed, cutting off whatever Derek's response would have been. Maya found herself alone with Alexander Kane, and the reality of what she'd just done crashed over her like a wave. "I am so sorry," she blurted out, stepping away from him. "That was insane. I don't know what I was thinking. You probably think I'm crazy. He was being so cruel and everyone was staring and I just wanted it to stop." Alexander leaned against the elevator wall, studying her with those dark, unreadable eyes. "That was your ex-boyfriend?" Maya nodded miserably. "He left me when my family lost everything. I hadn't seen him in a year, and then tonight he shows up with his new fiancée and decided to make sure everyone knew how far I'd fallen. People like that aren't worth your time," Alexander said simply. "I know. I let him get to me, and now I've dragged you into my mess. I'm sure you have better things to do than pretend to date some waitress you've never met." "Caterer," Alexander corrected with a slight smile. "You were catering, not waitressing. There's a difference." Despite everything, Maya felt a small laugh escape. "I'm not sure that makes it better." The elevator reached the lobby. The doors opened, but Alexander made no move to exit. "I have a proposition for you," he said. Maya's stomach dropped. She'd heard about propositions from rich men. "I'm not that kind of person," she said firmly. "Neither am I," Alexander replied, looking almost offended. "I meant a business proposition. You need someone to prove to your ex that you're doing fine without him. I need someone to convince my grandmother to stop trying to set me up with every eligible woman in the city. Perhaps we could help each other." Maya stared at him. "You want us to keep pretending? But why would you?" "My grandmother is relentless," Alexander interrupted. "She's convinced I'll die alone if I don't get married soon. Every family dinner becomes an ambush. Every charity event comes with a parade of potential wives. It's exhausting. So get a real girlfriend," Maya said. "I don't have time for dating. My company requires 14-hour days minimum. Most women aren't interested in being second to a business." He shrugged. "But a temporary arrangement? That could work for both of us." Maya's head was spinning. "This is crazy, perhaps, but effective." Alexander pulled out a business card and handed it to her. "Think about it. If you're interested, call me tomorrow. We can discuss terms." The elevator doors started to close. Alexander stopped them with his hand. "For what it's worth," he said, "your ex is an idiot. Anyone who would abandon you because of financial difficulties isn't worth mourning." Then he was gone, stepping into the lobby and disappearing into the night, leaving Maya standing in the elevator with a business card and a head full of impossible thoughts. She looked down at the card. Simple, elegant, expensive. Just a name and a phone number, Alexander Kane. Her phone buzzed. A text from her supervisor. "Mr. Kane's assistant called. You're released for the evening with full pay. Whatever you did, good job." Maya stepped out of the elevator in a daze. The ballroom was behind her now, with its champagne and cruelty and ex-boyfriends who didn't deserve a second thought. She walked to her car, a beat-up sedan that barely ran, and sat in the driver's seat staring at the business card. This was insane. Fake dating a billionaire? That was the plot of a romance novel, not real life, but then again, begging a stranger to pretend to love her had seemed insane too, and he'd actually done it. Maya started her car, which coughed and sputtered before the engine caught. As she drove home through the city streets, she couldn't stop thinking about how it had felt to have Alexander's arm around her waist, how Derek's face had fallen when he realized who she was with, how for just a few minutes she'd felt like she mattered. It was fake. All of it was fake. But maybe fake was better than the alternative. Maybe fake could become something real. Maya stared at her phone for the 100th time that morning. Alexander's business card sat on her tiny kitchen table, the black lettering seeming to mock her indecision. She'd already picked it up and put it down at least 20 times since waking up. Her studio apartment looked even smaller in the morning light. The walls needed paint. The carpet had stains she couldn't quite get out, and her bed was just a mattress on the floor because she'd sold the frame to help pay her father's medical bills. But it was hers. She'd earned it through hard work and sacrifice. Would calling Alexander mean giving that up? Trading one kind of dependence for another? Her phone buzzed with a text from her roommate at her other job, the coffee shop where she worked morning shifts. "Where are you?" "You're never late," Maya cursed under her breath. She'd been so distracted she'd lost track of time. She grabbed her jacket and ran out the door, Alexander's card still sitting on the table, waiting. The coffee shop was packed with the usual morning rush when Maya burst through the door, tying her apron as she ran. Her manager, Mrs. Peterson, gave her a disapproving look but didn't say anything. Maya had never been late before, and they both knew it. Sorry, Maya muttered, jumping behind the counter. Her co-worker Jenny raised an eyebrow but handed her an order ticket without comment. The next few hours passed in a blur of lattes, cappuccinos, and breakfast sandwiches. Maya's mind kept wandering back to the previous night. Had it really happened? Had she really asked a billionaire to pretend to be her boyfriend? Had he really said yes and then offered to make it a regular arrangement? Earth to Maya, Jenny waved a hand in front of her face. "You just put salt in that latte instead of sugar." Maya looked down at the cup in horror. "Oh no. What's going on with you today?" Jenny asked, already remaking the drink. "You're acting weird." "Just tired," Maya lied. "Long night. Must have been some night. You look like you haven't slept at all." Jenny finished the latte and handed it to the waiting customer with an apologetic smile. "Seriously though, are you okay?" Maya wanted to tell her.
Jenny was probably the closest thing she had to a friend these days.
But how could she explain what happened without sounding completely insane? Her phone buzzed in her pocket. Maya pulled it out during a brief lull in customers and nearly dropped it. Unknown number. "Good morning. This is Alexander Kane. I wanted to follow up on our conversation last night. Are you free for lunch today to discuss the arrangement?" Maya's heart started racing. He'd texted her. He actually wanted to meet again. This was real. "Oh my God," she whispered. "What?" Jenny leaned over, trying to see the phone screen. Maya quickly locked it. "Nothing, just nothing." But Jenny wasn't fooled. "You're being so weird today. Did you meet someone?" "In a way, yes." Maya had met someone. Someone completely out of her league who'd offered her a way out of the constant struggle. At least temporarily. The question was whether she was brave enough to take it. Her shift ended at noon. Maya changed out of her coffee-stained apron in the tiny bathroom, staring at her reflection in the cracked mirror. She looked tired. Dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, cheap clothes that had been washed so many times they were starting to fade. This was who she was now. Not the girl who used to shop at designer stores and attend charity galas. Not Derek's girlfriend with the perfect Instagram life. Just Maya, working 3 jobs and barely keeping her head above water. She pulled out her phone and typed a response before she could talk herself out of it. "I'm free. Where should I meet you?" The response came within seconds. "I'll send a car." "What's your address?" "A car." Of course he'd send a car. Rich people didn't just meet at regular restaurants. Maya gave him the address of the coffee shop, too embarrassed to have a fancy car pull up to her run-down apartment building. 20 minutes later, a sleek black town car pulled up to the curb. The driver got out, a professional-looking man in a suit, and opened the back door. "Miss Chen?" Maya felt every eye in the coffee shop on her as she walked to the car. Jenny was practically pressed against the window, mouth hanging open. The inside of the car was nicer than her entire apartment. Leather seats, a minibar, and classical music playing softly through speakers. Maya sat rigidly, afraid to touch anything. The drive took them to a part of the city Maya rarely visited anymore. The business district, where glass towers reached toward the sky and everyone walking on the sidewalks looked important and busy. The car pulled up to one of the tallest buildings and the driver opened her door. "Mr. Kane is expecting you on the top floor," he said. "Just give your name to security." Maya felt like an imposter walking through the lobby. Everything was marble and chrome, modern art on the walls, well-dressed people moving with purpose. She gave her name to the security desk and the guard made a call before handing her a visitor badge. "Executive elevator is to your left," he said. "It'll take you straight up." The elevator was glass on one side, showing the city falling away as Maya rose higher and higher. Her stomach dropped, and not just from the altitude. What was she doing here? She should be at home, studying for her exam next week. Not riding in an elevator to meet with a man who probably had assistants to manage his assistants. The doors opened to a reception area that looked like something from a magazine. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed a panoramic view of the city. A receptionist looked up with a polite smile. "Maya Chen?" "Yes. Mr. Kane is waiting for you in his office. Right through those doors." Maya's hands were shaking as she pushed open the heavy wooden doors. Alexander's office was enormous, bigger than her entire apartment. One wall was entirely windows, offering a breathtaking view. The furniture was modern and expensive-looking, and Alexander sat behind a massive desk, focused on his computer screen. He looked up when she entered and stood immediately. "Maya, thank you for coming." He was dressed more casually today, no jacket, his shirt sleeves rolled up to his elbows. Somehow that made him seem more intimidating, not less. This was a man comfortable in his power. "I wasn't sure you'd actually call," Alexander said, gesturing to a seating area away from his desk. Two leather couches faced each other across a coffee table. "Please sit." Maya perched on the edge of one couch, clutching her worn purse like a lifeline. Alexander sat across from her, completely at ease in a way she envied. "I've been thinking about your offer." Maya started, then stopped. "How did you negotiate something like this?" "I imagine you have questions," Alexander said. "Let me explain what I'm proposing and you can decide if it's something you're interested in." He laid it out simply. 6 months of pretending to date. Public appearances at events where his grandmother would be present, some business functions where it would be useful to have a partner, and enough social media presence to make the relationship appear legitimate. In return, he'd pay off her student loans, cover her living expenses, and give her a monthly stipend that would allow her to focus on finishing her degree without working multiple jobs. Maya's head was spinning. That's too much. It's compensation for your time," Alexander said. "I'm asking you to give up 6 months of your life to play a role." "That has value, but why me?" Maya blurted out. "You could hire an actress or find someone from your own world who'd be more convincing." Alexander was quiet for a moment. "Honesty?" Maya nodded. "Because you're real. Last night when you asked for help, you were genuinely desperate. That kind of authenticity can't be faked." He leaned forward. "And because my grandmother has met every actress and socialite in this city. She'd see through them immediately. But you? You're not part of that world. You'd be believable." "So I'm convenient," Maya said, surprised by the bitterness in her voice. "You're genuine," Alexander corrected. "There's a difference." Maya stood up and walked to the windows, looking out at the city spread below. From up here, everything looked small and manageable. Down there on the streets, life was messy and hard. "What if people find out?" she asked. "What if they discover it's fake?" "We'll be careful. And honestly, the only person who really matters is my grandmother. As long as she believes it, the arrangement serves its purpose." "What about my life? My jobs, my apartment?" "You'd move into my penthouse," Alexander said. "There's a guest wing with complete privacy. You'd have your own space. As for your jobs, you'd quit them. The whole point is to free up your time for school. Move into his penthouse. Quit her jobs. Let a stranger pay for everything." It sounded like a fairy tale. "Or a trap." "I need to think about it," Maya said. "Of course." Alexander stood and pulled a folder from his desk. "This is a contract. My lawyers drew it up this morning. It outlines everything we discussed, including privacy clauses, financial arrangements, and an exit strategy if either of us wants to end things early. Take it home, read it, have a lawyer look at it if you want. No pressure. Maya took the folder with numb fingers. It was thick, official looking. Real. Can I ask you something? She said. Anything. Why are you doing this? You're Alexander Kane. You could have anyone. Why go through this elaborate fake relationship instead of just dating someone for real? Alexander's expression hardened slightly. Because real relationships require time and emotional investment I can't spare. My company is at a critical growth phase. I work 80-hour weeks. No woman wants to come second to a business, and I can't give anyone more than that right now. That sounds lonely, Maya said softly. It's practical. He walked her to the door. Take the weekend. Call me Monday with your decision. The car was waiting downstairs to take Maya home. This time she gave the driver her real address, too distracted to care about embarrassment. The folder sat on her lap, heavy with possibility and danger. When she got back to her apartment, Jenny was waiting in the hallway. Okay, spill, Jenny demanded. Who was that? Where did you go? And why do you look like someone just offered you $1 million? Maya laughed weakly. It's complicated. I've got time. They went into Maya's apartment and Maya told her everything. Well, almost everything. She left out Alexander's name, just calling him a businessman. But she explained the basic situation. The fake dating arrangement. The money. The impossible choice. Jenny listened with wide eyes. This is insane. I know. But also kind of amazing. I know that too. Are you going to do it? Jenny asked. Maya opened the folder and started reading the contract. It was detailed, covering every possible scenario. Confidentiality clauses, financial terms, living arrangements, public appearance requirements, even a clause about what would happen if either of them developed real feelings. That last one made her laugh. As if that could happen. This was business. Alexander had made that perfectly clear. I don't know, Maya said honestly. Part of me thinks I'd be crazy not to. It's a way out. A chance to finish school without drowning. To not have to choose between eating and paying bills, but, Jenny prompted, but what if I lose myself? What if I get used to that life and then 6 months end and I'm back here? Except now I know what I'm missing. Jenny didn't have an answer for that. Neither did Maya. That night, Maya visited her father at the care facility where he lived. He'd never fully recovered from the stress of losing everything. And now he needed constant medical attention Maya could barely afford. Hey, Dad, she said, sitting beside his bed. He was asleep, as he usually was these days. The medication kept him comfortable but drowsy. Maya held his hand and told him about the offer. She knew he couldn't really hear her, but it helped to say it out loud. I don't know what to do, she whispered. You always taught me to be independent, to never rely on anyone else. But Dad, I'm so tired. I'm working myself into the ground and I'm still barely making it. Is it wrong to accept help, even if it comes with strings attached? Her father didn't answer. The machines around him beeped steadily, marking time. Maya stayed until visiting hours ended, then drove home through the dark city. She passed the hotel where she'd worked last night, where Derek had humiliated her and a stranger had saved her. When she got home, she pulled out the contract again and read it cover to cover. Then she read it again. Every clause, every contingency, every carefully worded legal phrase, it was a business deal. Nothing more, nothing less. 6 months of her life in exchange for financial stability and a chance to finish her degree without killing herself. She thought about Derek's face when he'd seen her with Alexander. The shock, the jealousy, the sudden realization that maybe he'd made a mistake letting her go. She thought about her father, sleeping in that facility that cost more per month than most people's rent. She thought about her tiny apartment, her 3 jobs, her exhausting life that seemed to stretch endlessly ahead with no relief in sight. Maya picked up her phone. I'll do it, she texted Alexander. When do we start? The response came immediately. Monday. I'll have someone pick you up at 10 a.m. We have a lot to prepare. Maya set down her phone and looked around her apartment. In a few days, this wouldn't be her home anymore. She'd be living in a penthouse, pretending to be someone she wasn't, playing a role in someone else's story. The smart part of her brain was screaming that this was a mistake, that nothing good could come from lying to everyone, from accepting money to play dress-up in a rich man's life. But the exhausted part, the part that was so tired of struggling, that part was whispering something different. Maybe, just maybe, this could work. Maybe fake could be better than real, if real meant suffering alone. Maya started packing. She didn't have much. Most of her belongings would fit in a few boxes. Her entire life, reduced to what could fit in the trunk of her car. Monday couldn't come soon enough. Monday, when her new life would start. Monday, when Maya Chen would begin pretending to be someone worth loving. Even if it was all an act. The car that picked up Maya on Monday morning was different from the one before. This time it was filled with garment bags, shoe boxes, and a woman with perfectly styled hair who introduced herself as Claire, Alexander's personal stylist. "We have a lot of work to do," Claire said, eyeing Maya's jeans and sweater with professional assessment. "But don't worry. You have good bone structure. We can work with that." Maya wasn't sure whether to be offended or flattered. She settled for confused as the car took them not to Alexander's building, but to an upscale shopping district she'd only window shopped in during her old life. The next 4 hours were a blur. Claire dragged her through boutique after boutique, pulling dresses and skirts and blouses that Maya would never have chosen for herself. Everything was tried on, assessed and either approved or rejected with brutal efficiency. This works. This doesn't. Too young. Too old. Perfect. Absolutely not. Claire's commentary was constant as assistants brought more and more clothing. Maya stood in front of a three-way mirror wearing a dress that cost more than 2 months of her old rent. It was beautiful, simple but elegant, the kind of thing that looked effortless but probably required a team of designers to create. "I can't accept all this," Maya said, looking at the mountain of approved clothing piled on nearby chairs. "It's too much." "It's part of the arrangement," Claire said, barely looking up from her phone where she was scheduling appointments. "You need to look the part. Alexander's girlfriend wouldn't shop at discount stores." "No offense. Some taken," Maya muttered. Next came shoes, then accessories. Then a trip to a salon where 3 people worked on her simultaneously. Her hair was cut and styled, her nails manicured, her eyebrows shaped. Maya watched herself transform in the mirror, becoming someone who looked like she belonged in Alexander's world. It was late afternoon when they finally arrived at Alexander's penthouse. Maya had expected something impressive, but nothing prepared her for the reality. The private elevator opened directly into the apartment, which occupied the entire top floor of the building. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered 360-degree views of the city. The furniture was modern and expensive, all clean lines and neutral colors. Everything was perfect. Everything looked like it belonged in a magazine. "Your room is this way," Claire said, leading Maya down a hallway. "The guest wing has its own bedroom, bathroom, and sitting area. You'll have complete privacy." The guest wing was bigger than Maya's entire old apartment. The bedroom had a king-size bed with soft white linens, a walk-in closet that Claire immediately began filling with the new clothes, and windows that overlooked the city. The bathroom had a soaking tub and a shower with more jets than Maya knew what to do with. "Alexander usually gets home around 8, Claire said. "He said to make yourself comfortable. There's food in the kitchen. The housekeeper comes 3 times a week. If you need anything, my number is programmed into your new phone." "New phone?" Maya asked. Claire pointed to a sleek smartphone on the nightstand. "Latest model. Already set up with all the contacts you'll need. Your old number is forwarded to this one." After Claire left, Maya stood in the middle of her new bedroom feeling completely lost. This was really happening. She'd actually agreed to this insane arrangement. She spent the next hour unpacking her few belongings, which looked shabby and out of place in the expensive closet. Her old clothes hung next to designer dresses like poor relatives at a fancy party. Maya changed into one of the new outfits, a casual but expensive sweater and jeans that fit perfectly. She looked in the mirror and barely recognized herself. The apartment was too quiet. Maya wandered into the main living area, taking in the art on the walls, the high-end electronics, the kitchen that looked like it had never been used. Everything was spotless and impersonal, like a hotel suite rather than a home. She found herself in what appeared to be Alexander's study. Unlike the rest of the apartment, this room felt lived in. Papers on the desk, books on the shelves, a coffee mug with a faint ring stain. This was where he actually spent his time. "Finding everything okay?" Maya spun around. Alexander stood in the doorway, loosening his tie. He looked tired, lines of stress around his eyes that she hadn't noticed before. "Sorry," Maya said quickly. "I was just exploring. I didn't mean to snoop. You live here now." "It's not snooping." He walked to the desk and set down his briefcase. "How was your day with Claire? She can be a bit intense." "That's one word for it." Maya moved toward the door, feeling like she was intruding. "She bought out half the city." "Good. You'll need an appropriate wardrobe." Alexander shrugged off his jacket and rolled his shoulders like they hurt. "Are you hungry? We should probably eat together tonight. Start getting comfortable with each other." They ordered food from a restaurant that didn't deliver to normal people, only to penthouses with money. While they waited, Alexander pulled out a tablet and showed Maya his calendar for the next few weeks. "Saturday is the first event, a charity gala. My grandmother will be there." He scrolled through the schedule. "Next week we have a business dinner. The week after that, a family lunch. I need you to meet my grandmother in a casual setting before she sees us at public events. It'll seem more natural." Maya's stomach twisted with nerves. "What do I need to know about her?" "She's sharp. Doesn't miss anything. She'll ask you a lot of questions." Alexander looked up from the tablet. "We need to get our story straight. How we met, how long we've been dating, that sort of thing." "What do you want the story to be?" Alexander thought for a moment. "Something close to the truth is easier to remember. We met at the hotel. I was there for a business conference. You were working. I asked you out. You said yes. We've been seeing each other for 3 months but kept it private." "Why would I say yes to you?" Maya asked. "I mean, in the story. You're Alexander Kane, I'm nobody." "You're not nobody." His voice was sharp. "Don't say that, you know what I mean. People will wonder why you date someone so far below your social level." Alexander was quiet for a long moment. "Tell them I was tired of women who only cared about my money." "You didn't know who I was when we met. That's the truth, isn't it?" Maya nodded. She'd recognized his name but hadn't really known much about him beyond the basics. "So you saw me as a person, not a bank account," Alexander continued. "That's rare in my world. It's why I kept asking you out." The food arrived and they ate at the dining table overlooking the city lights. It was strange sitting across from this man who was basically a stranger, eating expensive food and pretending they were building something real. "Tell me about yourself," Alexander said. "If we're supposed to be dating, I should know basic things. Family, hobbies, that sort of thing." Maya told him about her father, about the business collapse and how Derek had left. She talked about her dreams of finishing college and maybe starting her own marketing firm one day. Alexander listened without interrupting, his dark eyes focused on her in a way that made her nervous. "Your turn," Maya said. "What should I know about you?" "I'm boring," Alexander said with a slight smile. "I work." "That's basically it." "There has to be more than that," he shrugged. "I took over my father's company when he died 5 years ago. Everyone expected me to fail. I worked every day since to prove them wrong. The company is my life. What about before? Friends, hobbies, things you enjoy?" "I enjoyed building the company," Alexander said. "Everything else fell away." Maya studied him across the table. He looked successful and confident, but there was something sad about a life that consisted only of work. "That sounds lonely." "It's necessary." He stood and started clearing the dishes. "We should go over some other details. Social media, for instance. We'll need to establish our relationship online." The next hour was spent staging photos. Alexander's assistant had been right to call it work. They took dozens of pictures, trying to make them look natural and unposed. Maya sitting on the couch while Alexander stood behind her. The two of them by the windows with the city lights behind them. Alexander's hand on Maya's shoulder in a gesture that was supposed to look casual and affectionate. "Smile more," Alexander said. "You look terrified." "I am terrified. This is insane. Just think about something that makes you happy." Maya tried to think of something, anything, but her mind kept circling back to how weird this all was. Finally, she laughed at the absurdity of it all, and Alexander quickly took the picture. "That one's good," he said, showing her the image. Maya looked relaxed and genuine, her smile reaching her eyes. Alexander looked almost happy, too, a small smile on his face as he looked at her. "It looks real," Maya said softly. "That's the point." They posted a few carefully chosen photos to Alexander's social media accounts with vague captions about keeping his personal life private, but being happy. Within minutes, the comments started rolling in. Questions, congratulations, a few angry messages from women who'd apparently been hoping to date him themselves. "Don't read the comments," Alexander advised, putting his phone away. "They're not worth your time." But Maya had already seen some of them. "Gold digger. Who is she? He can do so much better. Each comment was a small cut, a reminder that she didn't belong in this world. Her new phone buzzed. A text from Jenny. What the hell, you're dating Alexander Kane? The Alexander Kane? And you didn't tell me his name? Maya texted back quickly. Long story. I'll explain later. More texts came in. Old friends from her previous life who'd stopped calling when her family lost everything suddenly wanted to reconnect. Classmates from community college who'd never given her a second glance were congratulating her. Even her old supervisor from the hotel sent a message. The attention was overwhelming. Maya silenced her phone and set it aside. It gets easier, Alexander said. The first few days are always the worst. Then people move on to the next story. Does it bother you? Everyone always watching, always commenting? I don't pay attention anymore. He checked his watch. I need to do a few more hours of work tonight. Make yourself at home. Watch TV, read, whatever you want. My study is off limits when I'm working, but everything else is available to you. He disappeared into his study, leaving Maya alone in the big, empty apartment. She wandered back to her room and changed into pajamas, real pajamas from the shopping trip, not the old t-shirt she usually slept in. The bed was incredibly comfortable. Maya lay there staring at the ceiling, wondering what she'd gotten herself into. Somewhere in this apartment, Alexander was working late into the night, probably forgetting she existed. In a few days, they'd have to convince his grandmother they were in love. In a few weeks, they'd have to convince the whole city, and Maya would have to convince herself that this was just business. Just a transaction, nothing more. Her old phone, the one that still had her real life on it, buzzed with a notification. Maya grabbed it and saw a text from an unknown number. Her stomach dropped when she opened it. I saw the pictures. Are you seriously dating Alexander Kane? Or did you lie to him about who you really are? I wonder what he'd think if he knew the truth about your family. Derek, it had to be Derek. Maya deleted the message with shaking hands. She'd known he wouldn't let this go easily. Men like Derek didn't like losing, especially to someone richer and more successful. She thought about telling Alexander, but what would she say? Her ex-boyfriend was harassing her? He'd probably say it was her problem to handle. This was a business arrangement, nothing personal. Maya turned off both phones and pulled the covers up to her chin. Outside her window, the city stretched out in all directions. Millions of lights marking millions of lives. Real lives where people loved and lost and struggled honestly. And here she was in a penthouse in the sky, about to lie to everyone about everything. The next few days fell into a strange routine. Alexander left early for work and came home late. They'd eat dinner together, go over their story, practice looking comfortable with each other. It was like rehearsing for a play that would never end. Maya enrolled in full-time classes at a better college, finally able to focus on her degree without working 3 jobs. She studied during the day in the quiet apartment, went to classes, and came home to the penthouse that didn't feel like home at all. Friday night, Alexander came home earlier than usual with dress bags. For tomorrow, he said. The gala. Claire picked them out based on your measurements. Maya opened the bag to find a dress that took her breath away. It was deep blue, elegant and sophisticated. The kind of dress that transformed whoever wore it into someone special. It's beautiful, she whispered. You'll need to wear the diamond earrings in the jewelry box in your closet, Alexander said. And Claire will be here at 4 to do your hair and makeup. Jewelry box? Maya went to her closet and found a small velvet box she hadn't noticed before. Inside were diamond earrings that probably cost more than her father's entire medical bill. They're just borrowed, Alexander said from the doorway. Everything gets returned after the event. Of course. Nothing here was really hers. Not the clothes, not the jewelry, not even the life she was pretending to live. Tomorrow is important, Alexander said. My grandmother will be watching everything. Every look, every touch, every word. She needs to believe this is real. And if she doesn't, then we'll have bigger problems than just ending the arrangement. He paused. Get some rest. Tomorrow's going to be a long night. Maya looked at the dress hanging in her closet shimmering in the soft light. Tomorrow she'd put it on and walk into a room full of wealthy strangers. She'd hold Alexander's hand and smile and pretend to be in love with a man she barely knew. And somewhere in that room his grandmother would be watching, looking for any sign that it was all a lie. Maya just hoped she was a better actress than she thought. Maya had never been so nervous in her entire life. She stood in front of the full-length mirror in her bedroom, barely recognizing the woman staring back at her. Claire had worked magic with her hair and makeup, and the blue dress fit like it had been made specifically for her body. The diamond earrings caught the light with every small movement of her head. She looked like she belonged at a charity gala. She looked like someone who could stand next to Alexander Kane and not seem out of place. She looked like a complete fraud. You ready? Alexander appeared in her doorway and Maya's breath caught. He was devastating in a tuxedo, every inch the powerful CEO who commanded boardrooms and made million-dollar deals. His dark hair was perfectly styled and he looked completely comfortable in formal wear, like he'd been born wearing it. As ready as I'll ever be, Maya said, her voice shaking slightly. Alexander walked into her room and pulled a small box from his pocket. One more thing. Inside was a delicate bracelet that matched the earrings. He took her wrist gently and fastened it, his fingers warm against her skin. The gesture was intimate, practiced, like something a real boyfriend would do. Remember, he said softly, still holding her wrist. We've been together for 3 months. We're comfortable with each other. You know how I take my coffee, I know you hate mornings. Small details like that make it believable. How do you take your coffee? Maya asked. Black, no sugar. You take yours with too much cream and 1 sugar. He smiled slightly. I've been paying attention at breakfast. They had been having breakfast together for the past few days, Maya realized. Small moments she hadn't thought much about were actually Alexander gathering information, building their story. The car ride to the gala was quiet. Maya's hands were clasped tightly in her lap, and she kept taking deep breaths to calm her racing heart. Alexander reached over and took one of her hands in his. Relax, he said. You're going to be fine. What if I mess up? What if I say something wrong? Then we'll handle it. Just be yourself. That's all my grandmother wants to see. That I'm with someone genuine. The hotel hosting the gala was even more luxurious than the one where Maya had worked. Cameras flashed as their car pulled up to the red carpet. Actual paparazzi were there, calling out Alexander's name, asking about his mysterious new girlfriend. Alexander got out first and extended his hand to help Maya from the car. More camera flashes. Questions shouted over each other. Maya felt frozen, overwhelmed by the attention. Just smile and stay close to me, Alexander murmured, his arm sliding around her waist. We don't have to answer any questions. They walked the red carpet together, Alexander's hand steady on her back. Maya tried to smile naturally while her heart hammered against her ribs. She could hear the questions being shouted. Who is she, Alexander? How long have you been together? What's her name? Alexander ignored them all, guiding Maya into the hotel with practiced ease. Once inside, away from the cameras, Maya let out a shaky breath. That was terrifying. You did great. Alexander accepted 2 glasses of champagne from a passing waiter and handed one to Maya. The hard part is over. Now we just enjoy the evening. The ballroom was stunning. Crystal chandeliers, white roses everywhere, and hundreds of people in evening wear mingling and talking. Maya recognized faces from magazines and news programs. These were the kind of people she used to see from a distance, never imagining she'd be standing among them. Alexander, a woman's voice rang out warm and commanding. Maya turned to see an elegant older woman making her way toward them. She was probably in her 70s but carried herself like royalty. Her silver hair was styled perfectly, and her dress was simple but obviously expensive. Grandmother, Alexander said, and Maya heard genuine affection in his voice. He kissed the woman's cheek. Don't you grandmother me, the woman said, but she was smiling. Then her sharp eyes turned to Maya. And this must be the young woman I've been hearing about. Maya Chen, Maya managed to say, extending her hand. It's wonderful to meet you, Mrs. Kane. Please call me Helen. The older woman shook Maya's